All right, gang, this is going to be fun. My guests this week are Chris and Emily Norton. Now, you may know their story because a viral video that captured their story and featured their walk down the wedding aisle, get this, was viewed over 300 million times and covered by People magazine. Are you kidding me? It's incredible, right? Now, their story is it's inspiring, it's unique, it's powerful, and at the same time, I'm guessing you're going to be able to find your own story in their story. Now, when Chris was 18 years old, he was a rising star. He was a college football player, and then a terrible accident on the field left him flat on his back with a broken neck and only a 3% chance of ever moving or feeling anything below his neck. Can you believe this? And then the doctors thought there was little hope of him ever walking again due to having 4 paralyzed limbs. However, Chris pushed himself through grueling daily workouts until 4 years later when he, with the help of his then girlfriend, Emily, walked across the stage to receive his diploma at Luther College. And then 3 years after graduation, and this is the video you might have seen, and if you haven't, I'm going to post it on the site so you can see it. It's absolutely incredible. But he and Emily walked down the aisle, which is incredible, after their beautiful wedding. And it is a true victory over physical challenges. There's no doubt, but it's also a victory. Their story is a victory over anxiety, depression, and fear. Today, their new life includes 5 adopted daughters and 17 and counting foster children. Can you believe this? Chris and Emily are also the authors of a new book, The 7 Longest Yards, and they've been featured on Good Morning America, The Today Show, USA Today, and Sports Illustrated. I'll tell you what, they have taken some incredible challenges and turned them into a true dream, think, do life. So I'm so excited to have both of them on for this conversation. Let's get to this. Chris and Emily, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Oh my gosh, you guys are incredible. I didn't know that I was going to get to have both of you. So I'm just like, I'm just psyched. I'm busted out. So I love this. So Chris, let's start with your story and then we're going to talk about your combined story here. But literally you are a star athlete. You're from Iowa. I'm from Iowa. Like your history, it's one of those that when you were in high school, you were dominating every Friday Night Lights video, local, news reports. You're just this rising star football player. You go to Luther College and boom, just a hit changes everything.
Yeah. I mean, 18-year-old kid, I was on top of the world. Everything was going according to plan. And I'm sprinting down the field during the 6th game of the season. Beautiful fall day. Like nothing bad can happen on this beautiful fall day.
Right.
And I make the diving tackle. And I mistime my jump just by a split second, and my head collides right with his legs. Instead of getting my head in front of the ball carrier, it hits him. And then in an instant, I lose all feeling and movement from my neck down. I'm completely conscious, but I'm trying to push off the ground after the play's over. I tackled him, by the way. But I'm trying to.
Of course you did. Right.
I got him.
Tackle. I just want to be very clear.
Yeah,
I got the tackle.
I missed. Yeah. I stopped him. But when I tried getting off the ground, nothing was working. I was so confused. But I'm telling myself, it's not that big of a deal. Just give it more time. And it might be a bad stinger or, something temporary, but it's not going to be permanent. Yeah. I'm going to get up, but I'm also thinking this is embarrassing because the game, I can tell, stopped for me and everyone's waiting for me to get up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Chris, get up. Like, what's going on? Like, this is weird. And obviously, as time goes on, it's starting to be apparent that's serious.
Yeah.
And then when they call in for the helicopter, that's when I knew this is really serious.
Yeah.
And so I'm flown out, and I'm just scared out of my mind. And I just start praying, just like, God, please, just like give me the strength, give me whatever like I need to just get off this field to walk again. Like I don't know what's going on. Like this is like a big joke or scared or like. Set me straight or something. I don't know what you're trying to do, but like message received. Just like, please, just like
exactly.
let me just get back to my life. Just don't change this plan. But sometimes God has a better plan for you than the plan you had for yourself.
Right. Wow, that is incredible. And at what point would you say it started to set in for you that this was more than just a stinger, more than just something you were going to be able to snap back from?
Well, it was that helicopter. So the paramedics got involved, which I was assumed. Like, I was a lifeguard. You always take extreme precaution on anything. So I understood that. But then when they had to call in for the helicopter, like, it was too big of an issue for the local hospital to handle. That's when I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Like, this is big.
This is
like,
real.
This is something very serious happening.
Yeah.
And I had no idea it was a spinal cord injury. Like, I had no idea. That never crossed my mind. Like, the idea of that happening was like, no way. Like, again, I'm from small town Iowa. I'm going to a small college. No bad things don't happen to me. Like, it
Not on a
happens to
Saturday
people.
afternoon, right?
No,
like
yeah.
a Saturday
football
afternoon.
day.
Yeah.
The leaves are changing colors. Like, you can't ask for better football weather. Like, there's no way. Like, this is happening right now. Like, this happens to people that you read about in a magazine,
right,
in a newspaper, and watch on television. But no way this is happening to me.
That is incredible. And so that's when it started to set in. That's when doctors started to say you've got basically 3% less than a chance to ever walk again. All of those.
Yeah. So actually, the surgeon said I had a 3% chance to ever move or feel anything below the neck. So it's much more than just walking. It was like being able to scratch an itch on your face, to be able to feed yourself, to even be able to breathe on your own. Like, it affects your lungs. So it's so much bigger than just being able to walk.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I know, like, Emily, I know you came into the story after the accident. Obviously, you've had your journey as well, but you guys met after the accident. How long ago how long after the accident did you guys then meet?
Yeah, so we met a few years after his accident. We met online and just had this instant connection. And I had figured out about his foundation, that he was able to use his injury to do things to help others in similar situations. So I was really drawn to that.
Yeah.
Because I've always just really wanted to help other people. It's always been my dream just to make an impact. And so I was like, wow, that's really cool that he didn't let that destroy him, but instead he's actually using it to help others. So I was very, very drawn to that, and just his positive attitude. Like, at first I was like, it can't be real. Like, there's no way,
Once you get to know the guy, he can,
I'll figure it out.
Once I see behind the scenes,
like, this can't be real, the positive attitude that he seems to have, like, majority of the time. And I mean, it's been many years and he still has that.
If he's faking it, he's really good, right?
Really good, yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So you guys started to connect, and it was just one of those that you were inspired by what he was doing, but also you've had a heck of a journey yourself, and really, you've always had a heart, from my understanding. I told you guys before I hit record that when I start to do research, I almost move into stalker mode, but I try to stay the healthy side of restraining order. But, like, you really do have an incredible story as well. You've really had to face some adversity, some challenges, and you've always been looking to help people along your journey as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, just from a very young age, I've always had a passion for helping others. And growing up, I had such an amazing family that was always there, parents who supported and loved me. I never questioned that I was loved. And then when I was growing up, I started getting involved with different activities and volunteering. And I realized that there are kids around me in my school, kids in my community that don't have that support, who don't have that family, and actually are being abused and neglected and going through the most unimaginable things. So that's where, like, my passion just was growing. I was like, man, I've got to do everything I possibly can to help these kids and these people who are struggling and who don't know that they're loved or don't know that they matter. So that was really from a young age. Like, I was on a mission to just do everything in my power to be there for people who are struggling. And really, I took that responsibility on my shoulders of, because I did have such a great life, I felt this level of responsibility. Like, I have to do something about it for people who weren't as fortunate.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know one of your mentoring relationships actually turned into family, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. Yeah. That's amazing. So let's talk about, you guys have been a part of many viral videos now, right? So one of the most popular, just amazing viral videos was you, Chris, crossing the stage for your college graduation. And tell us about that. Like, here you go from being the star athlete, basically just owning the field, all of that, to now you're having to navigate a whole lot of change, a whole lot of, finding new dreams, all of that. When did that start to become the goal? Like walking across the stage, when did that start to become a goal?
Well, I mean, right after my injury, my goal and my dream was to walk again. Like I got to do whatever I can to be able to walk again. I got to get my life back. I got to get back to where I was. So like that was like my obsession of like doing whatever I could each and every day to get a little bit better, get a little bit closer to that dream. And then when I got my transition back into college the following fall, I set the goal that I want to walk across the stage of my college graduation, because I knew it was going to take some time. I knew it was going to be overnight. Like the progress, the spinal cord injury is so slow, and it can stop at any point. Like you just don't know when the progress will just be done. And so that was just something I thought would give me plenty of time to work extremely hard for this goal, and then just kept chipping away at it and just putting in 4 to 6 hours, a day sometimes, just to get this goal to become a reality.
Right.
And then I met Emily, and Emily became like my best personal trainer, like just coaching me, barking at me to keep going. And,
it's good training for marriage.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
That accountability and love. Yeah.
I know. Right. So I just kept pushing it and was able to get to the point where I was able to walk with Emily. And she was the best at it. Like we could walk really well, and she could be right in front of me. And we just knew like we got to do this together across the stage. Like what better way to walk with her across the stage than like a walker or like a random physical therapist or somebody, but with Emily. And then I also planned a surprise proposal the day before the graduation walk, so that when we would walk, we'd be engaged.
Well played, sir.
Yeah.
Well played. Yeah. That's awesome. Now, Emily, like, how about like for you, this has got to be amazing, and the story's inspiring, but it's also got to be kind of a daunting thought of what could life look like, all of that. So like, what was going through your head during this time?
Yeah, I mean, so I would say like there's definitely some questions and fears about what it would look like, being with somebody in a wheelchair with physical disabilities, and what that would put on me. And at the time, I was Chris's full-time caregiver too. And we were really like, we went all in of like, I knew how important this goal was, and I just loved him so much. So I just wanted to do everything in my power to help him to pursue his goal and to make it happen. But it's interesting when I look back on it, because like at the time, a year before, when he made the goal public, where he was like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm going to walk across the stage. We couldn't walk together. I could not walk with him. Like he wasn't strong enough, and I wasn't able to walk with him at all. And so he could have, and there was like so many doubts and questions of like, how is this actually going to work? And like, is it worth it? I know a lot of those fears went through both of our head. But it's amazing to look at, like, he didn't let those fears get in the way, because it was there in his heart, and it was there for a reason. And then after the graduation walk, we saw why. Like God was able to use that to inspire millions of people.
Right.
And so it was like all of the work, everything was so worth it. We didn't know at the time really why.
Yeah.
But that was pretty cool to see that he didn't let those fears or the doubts get in the way. And we went for it and pursued it.
Yeah. And I think what was important too, like I aimed for like a big goal. Like it was a really out there goal. And I knew like if I aim big, and even if I come up short, like at least I'm coming up short to a goal that I'm really pushing myself for.
Right.
So I wouldn't have any regrets. I didn't want to aim small and something easy that's attainable, but something where I knew I'd push myself and I would do whatever I could to get to that point. And I just would get to that wherever I would end up without any regrets, knowing how hard I worked.
That's awesome. How important do you think that public declaration was? Like putting it out to the world that I'm going to do this, even though at the time you're saying it, it was definitely not 100% possible. Like how important was that to put that out there?
It was important to me because it was like the accountability. It was just extra accountability to keep you motivating, keep you moving towards that goal and that dream.
Yeah.
Because I knew like I wouldn't just be letting myself down, I'd be letting everyone else down. I'd be going against the very thing that I said I was going to work towards. And so I just knew like that letting just not myself down, but other people would just be too much And I couldn't do that to somebody else. And just considering like who else is counting on you was really important to me.
Absolutely. That's huge. How about you, Emily? I mean, when he put that out there, had you guys talked about it, or was that like,
Yeah, we talked about it. And so we had discussed it, and we really worked on it together of like, let's put it out there. Let's just do it. And once you put it out there, you can't go back on it.
Right.
You know? Like,
Especially in today's day and age with social media and everything's like, okay, great. Now everybody knows.
Exactly.
I love it. Now, did you guys have a sense of, because literally, like you said, millions and millions of people saw you do this. It's inspired so many people. It's touched so many people, facing different types of challenges. Did you guys have a sense how big this would be? I mean, Luther College is not huge. That gymnasium is not huge. So like, did you have a sense this would actually go out to the world?
No idea.
Yeah.
Not a chance. Yeah.
No.
It was like, we thought it would be maybe like a local, maybe like a local news station from like Des Moines or Rochester, Minnesota would pick it up and share it, or inspire that audience, or maybe alumni at Luther College, beyond, but never in
moms,
in
dads, aunts,
years.
and uncles.
Exactly. Never thought like it would go viral and across the world.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. And that was just the start. I mean, there's just so many different mile markers in you guys' journey together. It's incredible. Obviously, after that, how soon after that did you set then your sights on walking down the aisle together for the wedding?
Well,
was it immediate, or was there some time?
Yeah, it was actually another public declaration too, where it was like our first national interview, and they're like, "So what's the next goal?" I'm like, "Well, I guess walk Emily down the aisle." I mean, it just like came to me like I guess that makes sense. But like, we had so much energy and so much thought went into this graduation walk.
Yeah.
We literally like, life for us stopped at the graduation. Like, we had nothing else planned past the graduation. So like, we got engaged, we had the graduation walk, and then like everything else was just like up in the air, and we didn't really think about it until like someone just asked, "Well, what's the next goal?" And like, well, I guess it makes sense.
We should know.
We should just walk down the aisle.
But I think that, I mean, you uncover something that I think is really important, in a dream pursuit, going after a big goal. So often we're so focused that once we achieve it, or maybe don't, but, learn a lot from it. But oftentimes if we achieve it, then there can almost be a vacuum there, a little bit of like, okay, what now, which can be exciting, but it can really rattle people too. I know that that's sometimes where worry and anxiety can kind of sneak in too, because it's like, all right, what's next? So, and I know you guys' new book has just been killing it, The 7 Longest Yards, which actually is just incredible. It chronicles you guys' story, but also the wedding, all of that. But you guys are really raw and authentic, and it's beautiful about how this has not been an easy journey, and you've really had to wrestle with some anxiety and even depression. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I went through a really hard time actually right after the graduation walk. I had some different signs before that of like maybe feeling like I wasn't really myself or wasn't caring as much as I used to, but we stayed so busy with the graduation walk where I just shoved those thoughts down, shoved those feelings down, and really, really, really focused on the graduation walk. So after that was gone, it just hit me hard. We don't have that to focus on right now. That distraction is gone. So now all of those feelings really just came out for such a long time. I was doing everything I possibly could to help others, and it started to be so much even before the graduation walk, but it started to be so much where it was weighing me down. And I started questioning, like, is this dream even worth it? Like, is it worth it for me to be able to help these kids? I feel like there's nothing I can actually do because they've gone through so much. And it was really hard because I was putting that weight on my own shoulders, and I had no idea how to actually pursue my dream and my passion at the time, where it just absolutely weighed me down. And I stopped feeling. I just completely stopped feeling with everything. I wasn't caring anymore. Like, I had lost me.
Yeah.
I felt like I was never going to be me again. So I was at this point where I did not know what was going on. And then I came from such a great family again. So it was like, well, I can't be depressed. I can't have anything going on mentally. That doesn't make any sense. Nothing bad has happened to me. Right. So then I can't accept that. That can't be it. And then it was, I'm extremely independent. I want to do absolutely everything myself. I hate help. I want to be the one helping. So I had this view of like, I've got to help myself here. I cannot let anybody know that I'm struggling. I cannot let anybody help me. I have to do this by myself. I have to prove to myself that like I can get through this to know I'm going to be okay in life when something bad happens. So I stayed in that place for way too long because I had those views of thinking I needed to do it myself. So I buried it down, pretended like everything was fine, put a smile on my face. No one knew the struggles I was facing. I didn't even want to face it because it was so uncomfortable and such a terrible feeling, like to be that vulnerable and really to just accept what was going on. So I just buried it down. So it
Yeah.
came out in anger, which created a lot of hardships for our relationship. Chris got the worst of it, that's for sure.
Again,
and
speaking to that accountability, right? Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So, and then finally we ended up going back to church and I was able to get strength to like realize, hey, I have to depend on God. I have to depend on others. Like we are designed not to be super independent and do everything ourselves.
Yeah.
We're human. We need help. And I made an appointment with a mental health therapist and was able to get put on medication that just absolutely changed it completely. And then during that time, I learned exactly what I needed to do in order to pursue my dream of helping kids in the foster care system. I learned that I can't put that weight on my shoulders. I've got to give it to God. I have to depend on God. I have to like not carry those terrible things on my shoulders. And then I'm able to just get to work and do what I can to pursue this dream of mine to really help kids. But I was able to finally like get to that place where I could do it. So I really learned during that time, and I'm so thankful I went through that time because there were parts of me that were taken away that would have totally held me back from pursuing my goal of just helping kids.
Right. And being able to sustain that goal and be able to sustain yourself and all of that. And that's what I love too about with the book is, I mean, you said, you know, and I think so many people can identify with that, you know, I've actually had a pretty good upbringing, right? Like I have no reason to complain. I like the guy I'm hanging out with, right? Like the whole thing, like who am I to complain? At the same time, I love what you said is like, I stayed in that mode way too long. And that's one of the primary reasons I know you guys wrote the book was to get that out to people to help them. Cause I think it's one of those that whether it happens on the back end of achieving a big goal or whether it's just life that all of a sudden we start to get hit with those things and to say, hey, it's not just up to us. In fact, like if we try to sustain it, it's impossible.
Yes.
So it's
absolutely.
incredible. It's incredible. So what advice would you give to somebody that's wrestling with that? Maybe they're on the other side of going after a dream and have achieved it, or maybe they're in the midst of that, but they're feeling that weight that you guys were feeling of like, I don't know if we can sustain this, or I don't know that, you know, if it's up to us, if it's possible. Like what advice do you give people?
I mean, I would say that you just have to keep moving forward. I got to a place where I stopped everything and I became mentally paralyzed. Like I was just stuck.
Yeah.
And really what pushed me out of it was just taking one step at a time. And even though it was really, really hard, was just taking that step, facing the fears, facing what I was feeling. You suffer a lot less if you could just face it right at the beginning instead of burying it down and sweeping it under a rug. You got to just face it. And then just realizing that getting help is a strength, I think is the biggest thing that I learned. And just being able to know that it's okay to get help. You're not weak. You're not crazy. Like mental health is the same thing. Like you got something going on, your chemicals are imbalanced. Just like if you break your arm, you go in, you get that fixed, you know, it's the same thing. Sometimes you have to get professional help and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. And I would just say like, I learned during that time exactly what helps me to be able to sustain this dream of helping kids in the system. Because we've dealt with really, really hard things that totally would have brought me down before and I think would have kept me stuck. But I was able to learn to depend on God and to let go of that weight and the things that are out of your control, to let go of it and just be able to focus on what you can do and just keep taking one step at a time.
Yeah. And I'd say for me, what's really helped me is stay really present. So like, don't get too caught up in the future. Don't dwell on the past. Don't get caught up in comparing yourself to somebody else, but stay very present with who you are, where you are today, and then do whatever you can that day to get just a little bit better. Just like try to win that day. Because when I notice the progress from that day, the things that I'm doing, that keeps me motivated. So you just got to keep moving, keep doing, and keep going, and not get yourself too caught up in the future and the past or somebody else, but like where you are and just stay very present and just focus on that progress and what you can do.
I love it. Well, I mean, in the intro, I even said, like, you guys' story in some ways is extreme, right? It's incredible, but at the same time, I think everybody can find their story in your story. And what I love is that you both have kind of helped each other take those steps past different types of paralysis, right? Like either physical paralysis or spiritual, mental paralysis and all of that.
Yeah.
And I love that. Well, what I also love is it moved you towards not just the walk down the aisle, but the wedding, right? But I know you guys have also done so much. You're doing so much. Let's talk about your 5 daughters, like adopted daughters. Let's talk about that and why that's important to you guys and a little of that story.
Yeah. So, when I was in high school, I met a girl, Whitley, she was the first one that we adopted when she was 19 years old. But Whitley was taken out of her home when she was 11 years old and placed in foster care. She went through a lot of abuse and struggled a lot with different things that were happening in her home. And so that's really when my eyes were open. And then when she was 17, she was still in the system. She had been through so many different placements, and she called me and Chris and asked if we would be her foster parents. And we're 23, 24 at the time. And we're like, we love Whitley so much. So we knew we had to say yes, but there's definitely a lot of fears in place, that's just, there's so many fears with it of how this is going to work. Parenting someone who's 6 and 7 years younger than us, right? Like, it sounds crazy.
Like, wait, aren't I supposed to be a lot more experienced than this?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, also that societal pressure and that culture pressure, right? Like, people questioning us and like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you doing? Like, this is completely against societal norms. Like, no, like, we don't know anybody else parenting a 17-year-old at age 23 and 24. So there's no like playbook for that, right? And just, what kind of
self-help manuals in this genre? The niche
so you just gotta like, so you gotta ignore, what other people will think of you, because I think that's another thing that will get you in trouble is when you start worrying about what somebody else is thinking about you. Like, you just gotta stay focused in your own lane, in your own zone, and not get caught up in other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I think one thing too, just to like throw in here, to my understanding of the story. Now, you've had one viral video that's gone around the world, all of that. You've started your nonprofit, all of those things. But at this point where Whitley starts to come into your life in this way, it's not like you're independently wealthy and sitting on billions of dollars, right? That you're actually navigating a very real world situation here. So I think it's just so incredible that you guys step forward, felt called to do that and step forward in that. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, we just knew we had to. We were so scared of like, what would happen if we didn't? If she didn't get that family, if she didn't realize how special and loved she is, and just how can you survive in life, like not having that family support. So we knew like just how much we loved her and how much we wanted to just be that for her. And we were the only ones there. There was no other families in Iowa, so she was in Iowa at the time, that would take her. At 17 years old, with the struggles she's gone through and how it looked on paper, no one would take her. So we really were like the last like family option for her, which is sad, because so many people just push that off to the side because of everything that she had been through and the struggles and the hardships. But we got her here, became foster parents, and she lived with us until she graduated from high school. A lot of different hard moments, but such great moments and fun moments as well. And she just become our daughter that is forever. We were able to adopt her in December. And then after Whitley, we decided to just open our home to other kids in the area. And because we know there's such a huge need, there's so many kids out there who there's not enough families that can take them, and siblings are being separated, and they're going through such hard things at no fault of their own. So we knew that we could provide love and provide a safe home for them. So why wouldn't we, when we know that it's happening in our community and all around us? But it's been an absolutely amazing experience. The best thing we've ever done is open our home to these kids, and they're all just absolutely amazing kids. Just kids. Obviously, there's some struggles and challenges, as you can imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Been through trauma and abuse and neglect, and like really trying to help push them through those points. But we've seen transformations in the kids when we've been able to teach them to go to God, is when we've seen the biggest changes, and where they've been able to really just like flip their situations into something better and help them learn from the terrible things that have happened. And just really just help them know that they're not alone and they're special and they're safe. So it's been amazing. And then it brought us to, in February, we adopted a sibling group of 4 girls that we had fostered for a little over a year. So now we've got 5 daughters, and then we're still fostering 2 right now.
God bless you guys. That is incredible. And I love how you guys have taken some major challenges, right? And flip those into being blessings. And I know, it's easy to say that and make it sound rainbows and butterflies. It hasn't been easy, but it has been amazing. And I know, Chris, now you're also speaking all over. You're an award-winning keynote speaker that's traveling all over doing that. What do you talk with audiences about, especially when it comes to, this of being able to pivot, to be able to say, all right, you might have had one dream, and maybe that didn't go the way it is that you thought, or maybe some things get thrown at you. How do you help people stand?
Well, I help people realize just what their potential is and what they can do. And I think my story can really illustrate just that we can take on so much more in this life than what we think possible. We're so much stronger than what we realize. And that's something too with Emily and I, with all the things that we do. Like when we take on more than what we realize, that's when we can realize our potential. Just by stretching ourselves and pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone. And I think when I just talk about how you can switch your perspective and how you can just really reshape your reality with your attitude and just focusing on what you can do and what you do have and what's possible with your progress, and also just how to impact other people. How do you move people in the right direction? So those are some of the things that I talk about, and I love that opportunity to just inspire people and to give people that hope and that perspective shift, because that's everything. When you can shift your attitude, it does change your reality. And that's what changed it all for me when I was, lifeless from the neck down.
That's incredible. You guys are amazing. You're like this dynamic couple. It's it's huge. I love it. I love it. And again, I love how obviously you're better together, but how your stories are so complementary, and now in what you're getting to do, and then being able to help your daughters and all these foster kids that are coming through your house and audiences around the world too, to be able to be inspired by that. So I love it. So we always ask for one last, what I call my wisdom of the week. It's one of those, we always want to send our Dream Think Doers out with one last thought. If you had the chance to say, especially to that person, maybe they've been dealt a surprise challenge, they're being forced to pivot. What maybe would be one last piece of advice? I'll ask for both of you. What's one last piece of advice you might offer that person?
I would say when you feel like you're giving up on yourself, consider everybody else that's counting on you. And so when I think about my wife, when I think about my kids, my family, every person who's ever written me a message that has found inspiration from my story. And if I ever think about giving up or doubting myself, I think about them. That gives me the motivation to keep going. So I think just ask yourself, who needs you to keep going so that they can keep going, and that our example is so powerful. And so just always take stock of everyone that's in your life and use that as motivation and purpose for you to keep moving forward and to make that pivot.
I love that. I love that's not a burden for you. You don't think of that as a burden or an obligation. It's inspiration that those people are rooting for you. I love it. And it's true.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How about you, Emily?
Yeah, I would just say that no matter what situation you're in, no matter if you feel like it's the end or you're stuck, there's always hope. There's always hope that things can change, and God can take the worst possible things that have happened to you, the hardest moments, the darkest days, and turn it into something really special that can impact others and help you to just make your dream come true in life. So I would just say there is always hope, but you do have to choose that hope and just keep moving forward.
That's awesome. I love it. Love you guys. So how can Dream Think Doers find out more about you? What's the best places to go on the World Wide Webs and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, my website, chrisnorton.org, has all my speaking, my nonprofit. I started to help other people with disabilities, information about the book, and also upcoming documentary film that's coming out. And then you can also follow us on our social media. So for me, my handle's Chris A. Norton 16 on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. I'm there.
And then mine is Emily Summers Norton, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. We'll list all those in the post as well. So that is awesome, man. Just know that we are rooting for you. We're grateful for you. And thanks so much for sharing your story and your journey. Love you guys. This is great.
Yeah, thank you for
Mitch.
having us.
Appreciate it.